And now, this week's edition of Big Face with your host, Samantha Jane Tilton.
Hey guys, welcome to Big Face. I'm your host, Sammy Jane Tilton, and my guest today is actor, writer, I was like, I don't want to miss anything, producer, Nick Albanese. Albanese.
Albanese.
So,
How's it going?
How's it going, man? Welcome.
Oh, so glad to be on here.
I'm so glad we finally made it happen, man.
Yeah, we made it happen after a couple of weeks of our agents, working together, trying to get this going.
His people will call him my people call his people. These people can get it together,
A lot of lunches, wasting money just to do this.
Money. And look, it's just nice. It's simple. So happy to have you here, man. It's so funny. Guys, this is the first time we're meeting. So you guys know of my boyfriend, John. And so John knows Nick from stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And so Mike Cronin has I've met him over Parada shows online.
Yeah.
Yep. And from the second that we met, he was messaging me. He's like, you got to meet Nick. Nick, he's the greatest.
He's like my agent. He's like my manager.
It's like pure love. I love that though. That's how I am. Like when I believe in somebody or I appreciate them, I want the whole world to know.
Oh, Mike is a great guy. We known each other for years. We met because he was booking comedy shows, and when I was doing stand-up, I just ended up doing a show, and we clicked, and he liked my act, and he booked. He always says it. He booked me more than any comic ever. The whole time he ran his meatball comedy stop company. So
dude, that says a lot.
Yeah, it's nice. And then I when I was doing my one-man play, before the virus hit, I was on a roll doing it at least once a month. He was my guy, welcomed everybody into the theater. He during my show, there's a slideshow. So he would run the slideshow and do lights for me. So he was my stage manager pretty much. So dude, we worked together on a lot of shows. He
seems like a really nice dude.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
I want to talk about your show, but I also want to talk about, so you started in stand-up.
Oh no, I started actually as a theater major. Yeah.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was a theater major in college, and
I did not know this.
Yeah, just 2 years. I did a CCRI, they call it in Rhode Island.
Okay.
Community College of Rhode Island.
That's what.
Before that, it used to be called Rhode Island Junior College, which had a nicer name to it.
I was like, right? You're like, come on, guys, I'm trying to get something done here.
Yeah. So, no, I did that, and I wanted to be an actor since I was a little kid.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not see. It's really funny. So, guys, we're meeting for the first time. I just know a little bit about Nick, and I know you did stand up. So you started with studying theater. Then, how did you get into stand up?
Well, I finished school, I think it was 1995, and I, pursued the whole acting thing, moved to California and all that.
You did?
I didn't get into stand-up until 2004.
Wow.
A decade later, pretty much.
You didn't stay there. You've moved on back to kind of more acting, writing.
Most recent, last few years.
Producer.
Yeah.
Do you want to go back to stand up?
Not really.
Not your jam.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being on stage and being able to, tell I didn't do a lot of like jokes, one-liners or.
Right.
I told stories about, my family and stuff like that, growing up Italian, a lot of that stuff. And it was fun. I like to know when edited you on stage is your stuff, You bombed. If you had a great night, you had a great night. But I think I just really missed theater. So around 2015, after 10 years of doing stand-up, I got tired of it. I got sick of hearing my jokes. I got sick of hearing myself telling the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And I'm not that type where George Carlin, that he can just do a whole thing and just wipe it away.
Yeah.
And then start over again. And there's not many comics that do that. There's maybe you can count them on one hand how many comics do that, have a new act every year.
Yeah.
So I wasn't that type of comic.
So much work.
So I guess
nobody knows how much. Yeah. And nobody knows how much time it takes to develop an act.
Oh yeah.
How much work it took for one act, nobody gets that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start with your 5 minutes and then you work the 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it takes you months to get to 15. And then you finally get to 20 minutes, you could be a feature act. It's like, it's a big deal,
It's a big deal. I know. It's a lot of work, man. Being creative in any way is it's a lot of work, but stand-up comedy is one that I give you guys all credit for. It's one that I still, to this day, my fear has kept me from trying.
Yeah.
You
ever tried it? You never tried?
My acting teacher for many years, he challenged me. He would stop class and he would challenge me. He said, I challenge you to do 3 open mics. And he used to tell me I'm made for comedy. And I could never see that.
I could see that.
You could see
you have the personality. I can definitely see it.
And it's probably that Italian thing too, right?
Yeah.
So funny. So you started doing you talked about your show and
my one-man show.
Yes.
Yeah, around 2015. I said I got sick of comedy, stand up, and I really miss doing theater. And I did some film and TV, in between that time. But I really miss theater. And I got together with a group of friends, maybe 6, 7 of us, and we're gonna do a evening of 1-act plays, all original. I wrote like 3 or 4 of them.
Wow.
I love writing. And then another guy wrote one, and I think, and then Steve, I wrote another one. So we had a good collection of these 1-act originals. And I went to a theater in Cranston. I didn't know who they were. Like, I knew the theater, but I never worked there. And it was called Theater 82. And I went to talk to the lady that ran it, and she said, "Yeah, they're like really open to having anyone come in." And I didn't even have to rent the theater. I just split tickets with her. So
that's awesome.
No money lost, really. You're not renting the theater, so it's a great deal.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, and so it was like summer. I think it was like summer of 15. Like May. Yeah, it was May, and we did it. We had like 2 evenings. I had 2 nights booked, and we did those, and it was just great to be back on stage, acting and playing a character, and have that the live audience. There's
nothing like that.
There's nothing like it. I mean, I got it during stand-up,
right?
But it's just different when you're doing a play and you're working with other people and playing this character, and you wrote it, and it just comes to life. It's just, so I was like, I got to do this again. So I basically started up my little theater company right from that month, and then the next thing I did was my one-man play, The Last Sicilian, that whole summer. Because I always wanted to do 1-man show, like since college. We're talking,
wow.
So like all this time, almost 20 years, I've been wanting to do a 1-man. But you're a kid, you're like 18 in college, 19, 20. It's like, what am I going to write about? Like, what life experience do I really have?
Exactly.
And I would watch John Leguizamo doing his shows on HBO. Dude. Like what was that show?
Brilliant.
Pico-Rama, which you get canceled for saying that today. What's the other one he did? He did a bunch. He did like 5 HBO specials, but I remember that one, and I'm like, wow, I would love to do that. Just do a 1-man show, play the characters. And
do you want to hear something funny about him? Sorry, just side note.
Oh no, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So whenever my brother and I watch a movie with my dad, or even like a commercial, he'll go, "That's that actor." Meanwhile, that was like 30 years ago that he's talking about it, and they look 20 years younger than 30 years ago. So we're like, "Dad, it's not possible. It's not that actor. He's never right."
Yeah.
And then we're watching Die Hard, okay? Yeah. And
the original?
Was it the original? Yes, I believe it was the original.
Yeah,
I want to make sure because, dude, we watched it like on Thanksgiving a few years back. And we were
Christmas
like,
movie or not? Everybody debates.
I know. You know what? It's funny because then we might have watched it again. Like we just like kind of got on a roll with that. Yeah. And because I hadn't seen it since I was like younger and I didn't remember it. So there's this one guy, and I think he's just carrying baggage onto the plane, and he's like, "That's John Leguizamo," and I'm like, "Okay, Dad, it's John Leguizamo." Like we're like, "Shut up, Dad." Then we look at the credits, and it actually is him.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Really, John Leguizamo was? Wow, I have to go back and watch it again. I don't even think
he had a line. I think it was like a quick, whatever it was. Maybe he had a line, but no, we were just like, okay, Dad. And it really was him. And we were like, we'll give you that one for the rest of your life.
Wow.
We'll give you that.
You give him that credit, yeah. Wow, it's
So
you know what? I remember seeing that movie opening night with my
Wow.
brother, and it was jam packed the theater. Like the hype for this movie was so
Yeah.
incredible, and nothing like that. It's been so long, it's a year since I even before the pandemic, I was in the theater
Yes.
that packed, and everyone like just laughing and roaring at the screen, and when it was over, people were clapping like it was like a live show.
That's
Like, you know, a movie's good when people are clapping at
dude,
the
we
end.
went to Avengers Endgame and like, right? Was it Avengers Endgame? Anyway, where the theater was nuts. We went like, I think we went to a midnight show, like when it was just out, and the theater was just like, yeah, like they were like, that was the last and maybe only movie that I've ever experienced like that. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a kid from the 80s, so I think I experienced a lot of movies like that.
Yeah.
I always went, I was a movie, but I always went opening night.
Oh, see,
And
that's
another
awesome.
movie that was like that was like Forrest Gump. Well, that was in the 90s.
It's funny because you mentioned just in like your email to me some of your favorite shows and some of your favorite movies. Guys, we have never met before I read this email, and I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like your tops are my tops. So you just mentioned Forrest Gump. That is one of my tops.
That's
of all
my
time.
top. All time. Great movie.
That is one of the best movies.
I think I seen it 4 times in the theater when it came out.
Did you?
Because I went with my girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I got to go back. And I was like, oh, my sister wants to see it. I'll go with you. You got to see this. And then, you start bringing people. I went 4 times.
Dude, that's one of those. It's like funny. There's not a lot of movies that I will watch anytime, like over and over. It could be a long movie and I still can tune in anytime and love it. Inglourious Bastards is one of them. Forrest Gump is another one.
Godfather.
Yes. Casablanca,
Godfather.
which I only saw more recently in my life. And that
Pulp
one,
Fiction.
I'm like, yep.
That changed everything. Like that changed so much.
You know what's funny? So that changed so much, and yet for me, Inglourious Bastards is like might be my favorite of his. Like, and I don't know why, I just love it. I can watch
the
it.
ending. That ending is just like you like
no
wish
spoilers.
It's just, you wish it happened. You just like, oh, if that happened, that'd be so great.
Just so good. And there's like Brad Pitt's voice in that is just like it's so good. I don't know. It just what a great movie. But so we have a lot of the same taste.
Yeah.
So back to your play. So your one man play. Tell us the name of it again, so people.
The Last Sicilian.
By the way, guys, there's going to be links.
I even have my own cup. Look at
that. Look at this guy. That's the way to bring it to
my own merchandise. The Last Sicilian, the flamethrower. The kids love this one.
I love it. By the way, guys, we're going to have links to all of Nick's work, so we'll talk about the projects here, but we'll have links to it all in the episode description, so you can check his stuff out. So don't be worried if you have to like write stuff down, you don't. So
So back to the one-man show. I always wanted to do it. But really, I started writing it, and I had this one story that happened in my, it's all stories, like, my family in Sicily, how my grandparents met on both sides, and how my parents met, and then how they ended up in America, and I was born, and we grew up on the north end of Providence. My father had a bakery. We lived above the bakery.
Wow.
Very typical Italian upbringing.
That's like,
The whole neighborhood's Italian. And so I started writing this one story that happened on Thanksgiving Eve. This guy walked into my house right through the bakery, right past all the bakers. Like everybody was making pies. It was 3 a.m. He comes up to my house, but he's stoned out of his mind. He has no idea where he is. My father chases him out of the house. So I started with this story, and then I started just writing other childhood stories. And I was like, how am I going to link this together? And then I ended up watching, I even get to see the whole thing. HBO, Billy Crystal's One Man, 700 Sundays.
I've never seen it, actually.
Yeah, I read the book. I got the book out of the library, and I read it because I missed the show. I caught some of it, and I really liked it. And I just went and researched a lot of clips online, whatever I could find
Yeah,
online.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah. And the book was great. The book was great.
Wow.
And I was like, that inspired me. That like gave me the little spark I needed to know what direction to go with my show. And he was playing all the because a lot of people, when they come see my show, even like a famous producer came to see my show.
Yeah.
Dave Permet. He produced. He was in town producing Poker King at the time with Jack Black on Netflix.
Wow. Yeah,
They filmed
yeah.
It's supposed to be Pennsylvania, but they filmed in Rhode Island. And and he did the year later, 2 years later, he was nominated for Hacksaw Ridge. He was a producer of that. He produced Face Off. So this is like a big player.
Yeah, this guy's done some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that Thursday, my show, they wrote an article about it in the paper. I've been doing it for about a year or so since at that point.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, they wrapped on Poker King. And then Saturday was my show. So they stuck around. I don't know if they saw it in the paper or someone told them about it. And he talked to me afterwards and he goes, "That your show reminded me of the Bronx Tale." Like when Chaz Palminteri was doing. Yeah.
I just got the chills, dude.
Yeah. When he was doing it, like just like you, in a little black box theater. He was not famous and he was doing it. That's what it reminded me of. And I was like, that's a huge compliment. I mean, that's a huge compliment from somebody in the industry.
That's a huge compliment. When somebody says you remind me of this person that is established.
No, well,
I
didn't remind him, but the show reminded him of Bronx Tale. You know, had that feel. You know.
And you brought that. That's what I'm saying. Like for somebody to say that, from what that you brought them to be able to feel the ambiance of something, to feel connected to, that's a really awesome compliment.
Yeah, and so a lot of people see that, but it was really Billy Crystal's show because it was about his father and how 700 Sundays. He figured that's how many Sundays he had with his father because his dad died when he was a boy. So because his father always worked and only spent Sundays with the kids. So he had only 700 Sundays. And I was like, wow. And he would show pictures behind him on the walls of the set.
Yeah.
And he would play the character of his aunt and his uncle, his mom. And I was like, that's the way I went. So I went that direction. You know, I play all the characters in my show. I play my father. And it's basically my dad and my uncle are the two main characters of the show. And I play me as a kid. I play the scene where I play my mom. She's making the sauce and she's telling me these stories. And I have these pictures, a slideshow. Mike Cronin, he runs a slideshow and he stays with me on the script. I always give him a heart attack, you know, because sometimes I get off. You know, but like Mike, it's live theater. You don't know. I'm feeling away. I forget a line. One time I did I jumped like a whole page, and then I went back again.
He's like, "What are you doing to
me?" Yeah. Talking about confusing a guy, right? Well, so that's what I did. I really was back into theater, and then from there I wrote probably. This is 15, so 15 until right before the pandemic. Every year I was building up a crowd. More and more people were coming, and I was like, wow, this thing's really gonna take off because you can't do it overnight. But I stuck with it for 5 years. It was gonna go somewhere, and then everything shuts down. It's like it was crazy. But in that time, I wrote I think 4 or 5 other full-length plays with full casts. I directed them. I was in them, and I was really back into theater. I loved it. I loved it so much.
That's so awesome. Like like even the joy that comes over you when you talk about it, and I love it. And doing theater again. You know what? I love that you shared, and I think that this is something that I know I just benefited from hearing it, and I'm sure other people will too. But I myself have all these ideas, right? I'll have all these different bursts of creativity or scenes or characters, and I write them out, or I kind of brainstorm on that, and then how am I going to piece them all together? I actually just had this conversation with a filmmaker friend of mine the other day, and I was like, he knows what he wants his next film to be. He's made films that it was well thought out. He felt passionate about it, and that was the story he wanted to tell. I have many different ideas and stories, and I don't know the one that I'm like, I am moved to tell this one and to give my everything to this. And I
Yeah.
said, maybe I just need to start doing these bursts and even just shooting some of these bursts. And in doing those, even if they're different from one another, maybe I'll figure out where that's going to take me.
Yeah.
So when you just said, like, you know, you had all these different things and then you read or you read Billy Crystal's thing and then you saw it too, you said, right?
Yeah, I saw portions of it. Yeah.
Portions of it. And then you kind of found your direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I linked all these. I made like a from story to story of. I start to show the history of Italy, how it formed, how Sicily became, part of this, southern Italy, and how the Sicilians were treated bad, and they left, and they went to New Orleans, and went to New York, and they went all over the place. People just think they went to New York. Millions went to New Orleans, and then I just went into the history of my family and my town called Bulgaria, and then I went to my parents' history, and it flowed. It linked, and I had Mike Cronin was there from day one at rehearsals. I rehearsed like for 7 weeks. Every week I met with Mike Cronin and Steve Martin. Not Steve Martin you're thinking of. Rhode Island Steve Martin. He's an actor, actually. His name's Stephen Martin.
That's so funny.
He was the original director. He helped, because you need another pair of eyes. You're doing a one-man show. You need a pair of eyes out there watching you. And they really helped. They helped me link it as well. This story should come after this story. And it just progressed that way. And I go all the way up until at the end, I'm talking to my son. In the beginning, my father's talking to me. And at the end, I'm talking to my son. And that was like the bookend. It was just worked out so great. And I can't even count how many shows I did. Because I besides that theater where I did it all the time, I brought it to other places. I brought it to my kid's school for a fundraiser. I brought it 3 times down into Westerly, another theater down there. Back in 2018, I brought it to New York. I brought it to the 13th Street Repertory Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought it there for 2 weeks.
Dude.
I rented that theater out and did a show there.
Congrats.
Yeah, and that was like amazing. Because, my whole life, like all my 20s, I wanted to be in New York and like work and go audition and do that whole thing. And I never did it. Because, sidetrack, I was going to do it. And it was 2001. And it was September. That whole weekend before September 11th, I was going to live with my cousins in Connecticut. And I was going to take a train in and work in a city and just try to pursue my dream. I must have put in like 30 applications, every store that would take one. And I even auditioned while I was there. On Monday, I had an audition for a film. And then one actor was like, that's the thing I find in New York, the actors really, I found they helped each other. Because I lived in LA and New York. LA, man, they really like,
it's kind of
I don't want to put LA down, but it was a different world. And a lot of phonies, man. I noticed a lot of people cling on to you. They just see who you know. And if you know nobody, you never see, like, where's that guy? He was hanging out all week with me. Now he's gone.
I've heard that about LA.
A lot of backstabbing. In New York,
I heard that.
I was in an audition with a guy, and he's like, hey, there's another thing tomorrow. You should come to it. Like he was telling me about it. I was like, wow, this guy's telling me about it. He looks like me. We could play the same part, but they're just really supportive.
There are a lot of giving actors. There are a lot of there are also actors that are not. There are also actors, like anywhere. Like, there are people that are giving and nice, and then there are people that are self-centered.
I found it more in New York than out there.
I teach acting class too, and I coach, and it's one of the biggest things that I stress to actors is like, always be a generous actor. Give. It's not for me. It's not mine to hold on to.
Yeah.
Mine to give away. Whatever I've learned, whatever I've been given, give it away. There's only one of you. There's only one of me. And even though there's a guy that looks like you, it doesn't mean he's you. He's not going to take your part. You're not going to take his. Although I get that's the fear for people, but it's not like that.
Well, you hear the stories. You walk into an audition and there's like 200 guys that look just like you.
Exactly.
You're like, oh my God, how am I going to get this? This guy, look at him.
Wait, you know what? Did you ever see City Island?
City Island? No. Somebody else just told me about that show. It's a show,
really?
right?
No, it's a movie.
Oh, it's a movie. Okay.
It's a movie with oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? This happens to me.
Somebody just recently told me about that. City
Oh my
Island.
God. I'm gonna like look it up while we're talking. City Island.
Yeah.
I showed it to John. So you guys know John, my boyfriend. I'm like, you guys, you the world in public. so I showed it to John. He's like, I never heard of it. A lot of people have never heard of it. It is one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Really?
You would love it. I love how I've met you today, and I'm like, I know you. You'd love it.
Actually, and besides the person last week, John told me about it during like the off time of Parada's podcast.
No way.
John did tell me about it. He did.
He did?
Yeah. And
That
I forgot about that until that's why when someone told me last week, it sounded familiar. And then you just said it again. Like, now I gotta watch this.
Like, you screwed my surprise up, man. I'm like looking, oh God, this is gonna kill me. Anyway, I'll find it. What the hell is his name? You know, I love it. I'm telling you,
Yeah, you know, the guy with the face.
You know the guy. You the bad of that. I have to look it up. All right, movie cast. Okay, love you guys. You guys want to know who's in City Island? Andy Garcia.
Yeah, oh, Andy.
Thank you. Come on, Andy Garcia. And no joke, that should be the next movie you watch. It's Juliana Margulies and phenomenal movie.
I'm gonna look at that.
And it has to do. It has. You know what? No spoilers.
All right.
But I think what we're talking about, you'd appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
But
good. Yes. Yeah. But generous actors, and like that there's you walk into an audition, you walk on a line, there's a million people like you. You know, it's an amazing thing. But there really is only one of us. People can look like us, but you know.
Yeah.
I want.
So the guy was like, "Come back, you know, for this audition," and I already spent the whole weekend there. I was working at back in Rhode Island at a company, and I took that Monday off. And I was like, you know what? I can't take another day off. They'll be so pissed off at work if I take another day off. So Monday the 10th, I jump on a train like 10 o'clock at night, back to my car in Connecticut, and drive back to Providence. And I get home like, I don't know, 1 a.m. I get up, I go to work, I'm there in the morning, 8 o'clock. And then on the radio, I hear that they say the towers were hit. I was like, I just walked by the towers Saturday. I couldn't believe it. I got so many calls because people thought I was still in New York. I got tons of calls.
It's funny that morning. So I was like going through a hard time. I was away in college at the time, and I was having a hard time. So I was staying at my dad's in Long Island, and now Monday had already came and went. I missed Monday's classes, and he was like, "You're going back to school tomorrow. You're going back. You're driving." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going." He's like, "You're going." And I'm like, "I don't want to." I was fighting it tooth and nail. And Tuesday morning, I drove back. So I was driving towards Delaware, like over the bridges and stuff. When it happened, I drove up to my dorm at college, and somebody came out and was like, "A plane hit the Twin Towers, like hit the first tower." And I thought, was it an accident?
Yeah,
I didn't even know.
Yeah. Crazy.
And it's so, and I was just like, God, I wish I would have stayed home. Like then you just want to be closer to home,
Yeah. And you just remember that right after that, it just, everything, for like a month, man, New York was like deserted, right? And like, I all those applications I put in, like, forget about it. No one, it was like nobody was working. There were no Broadway shows. But what I really miss about that time is tell you how everybody was treating each other. You remember that? People would act. I remember going to an intersection, stop signs, and people were like, it's like a wave fest. No, you go. Everybody was so nice to each other, just for a couple of months.
And that's, that was the thing. It brought us all together. It's a terrible thing.
I think so. That was the last time we were ever that close as a country. I think it was all downhill after that. I tell everybody that. After 2001, we started just going as just personality wise, and just people having their differences and still talking about it, and like now you can't even do that anymore. You can't even do it. It's a shame.
You can't even do it. I know that was like nothing that didn't matter like mattered. Like it just, what mattered was what was important at that time. Like it brought us together on the most human level.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have to take a tragedy to do that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately. But
Yeah.
that'll throw your plans off for sure.
Yeah. And that was the whole thing. And then I was like, I stayed with that job, and then I ended up getting into the limo business, and I drove limo
You
for a
said
long
that.
time. Yeah, I drove limo. I started driving limo in 2002, and I just worked and saved up my money for a couple of years, and then in 2005, I went back to California for my second time. I originally went in 95 after college, and then I went again. I was like, let me give it a try again. And I went back. I was like, I still love the weather, but the people,
I don't know about that.
And then actually, I was.
No offense. If you're nice in LA, we like you. Don't worry.
I know, yeah. If you're nice.
If you're nice.
If you're not a backstabbing scumbag, we like you.
Yeah, exactly. Then welcome. We like you.
So I had a long distance relationship with my she was my friend at the time, but then we ended up really getting close over the phone, like a long distance relationship.
Really?
And that's why I came back after a few months to be with her, and now we're married with 3 kids today.
Shut up. That's the person I thought you were going to be like, oh, my girl at the time, blah, blah,
blah. Yeah. So.
And you got 3 kids, man?
Yeah, I got 3 kids. That's why I had to do this podcast so late. I had to get the third one, or the fourth one.
You know what? You're like, whoa, that's thinking that I wasn't aware.
The dog's a problem. I had to get Louis, my youngest, to bed. My wife, she works full time, and she's going to school to be a nurse full time. So
wow,
I'm Mr. Mom right now.
Yeah, man. Well, A, congrats, and B, damn, you got a lot on your plate. It's a lot of work. 3 kids, a dog, a wife that's working hard. That's a lot.
And I'm still doing projects. I'm still doing films and stuff. And
I want to talk to you about that. But I also want to say it's funny because I am not a night person. Not that I get tired. I am not if you think this is spunky, you should see me in the morning. John's like, shut up.
Yeah. I'm a morning person as well. My wife thinks I'm very annoying in the morning.
John's like, I need to wake up first. I'm like, okay, get it now. Like now that we've been together like this long, I get it. But by nighttime, I kind of lose my sass. So
I hear you.
When I hear it's a kid that somebody can't schedule earlier, you know what I mean? Like you have to wait for it's your son, that had to go to bed. Yeah. I have so much like love and compassion for that, and I want to try and make anything work when it comes to people being parents. Because, dude, you guys have the hardest job, and kids are the best.
It's hard. I know.
And they deserve first. They deserve before my podcast. They deserve dad and get to bed. And it's important. To me, that means a lot. So awesome. And so, but you still do your projects. And, you told me about a couple of the ones you're doing that are currently being pitched, right?
Well, one. They're working on it. Yeah, one of them I can't really talk about right now, but I can tell you what the project. I can tell you what the project is.
Yeah.
And we filmed that back. We did a teaser for it. It was a pilot, but we just did like a couple scenes out of it as a teaser. And it was up in Amsterdam, New York. We did it upstate. And it's called Down the Shore. And John Conover wrote this series. He wrote actually the whole series. Really? The whole series is written, and we became friends through Facebook, the world of Facebook, and he's been following my career. I back in like 2007, I was on the Showtime series Brotherhood. I was on a couple episodes. I played the councilman. So he's been just watching me over the years, and he would write to me and says, "Hey, I want to do something with you one day. I want to do something with you one day." So we ended up doing this. And they also got John Fiore from The Sopranos.
Yeah.
He played Gigi, everybody knows him. He died on the toilet, So that's how they know.
He was good, Gigi,
they're like, yeah, I know the ones that are not sure. He's the guy on the toilet. Oh, okay, I know who he is. And he was actually, before that, he was in Law and Order, in a lot of episodes.
He's been I mean,
he's a great actor and great guy. So he ended up signing on to it, and couple other local guys in the area in New York, and we just did this teaser, and it's basically about this guy Vinny, who it's based in the early 2000s, and when reality TV was really
Really hit
going.
hard, yeah.
But he was like a failed actor. He wasn't making it anywhere, if any. And he decides to be a producer. And he comes up with an idea to, do this reality show following Italians around. So he goes to the mob and asks them for money and see if they would help produce it. So the trouble you can get into borrowing money from the mob.
Bro, yeah.
Yeah. And like, so like the main boss, he doesn't like the idea, but an underboss kind of hears the idea and has a secret meeting with him, tells him to meet him the next day. And he says to him, I'm interested, but if this works out and doesn't work out, you're still paying me back. And he tells him, but no, nobody wants to see a bunch of Italian guys. You gotta have hot looking young women and men for the show. So
Yep.
you know where I'm going with this? A reality show by Italians that are hot looking. So that's the whole premise. So it's like reality TV meets the mob genre. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool script, and it's cool that he actually wrote the whole season out already. So
dude, that sounds really good.
Yeah, so be on the lookout. Pretty soon there'll be stuff coming out on social media about it.
That's really, really awesome.
Down the shore. And then oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
And then the other thing was the working with guys locally here in Rhode Island is The Boss and The Hitman.
That was the other one I wanted to ask.
Yeah, that came to be from a short. Originally, it was a short film we did called Judgment Call. And
yeah,
Anthony, we met like a couple of years ago, and he's another guy like, oh, we want to work together. And then finally we met up, and he says, I got this idea of this, I was all right, let's do it, And I played the boss, he plays the hitman, he wrote and directed it, and we called it Judgment Call. And it was just a short film. It wasn't like we had no idea for a series or anything like that. And
sorry, I just have to interrupt. Not just a short film. It was a short film.
Okay.
I always take away the just.
It was a short film.
Yeah.
So
it's my thing because I think it deserves a lot because I think it's really hard to make a short film.
Yeah.
Or to make anything. Yeah. So go ahead.
And we did it on the iPhone, which was really cool. It really came out nice.
That's really cool.
And so he premieres it on Facebook and people start watching it and sharing it. It's like over 17,000 views now. It's like crazy of people. And Anthony's like, you know what? I want to do a series. Let's make this to a series. Let's do like episodes. And
yeah.
So he decided to call it The Boss and the Hitman. And we did episode 2. And now that's up. I don't know. Last time I checked, maybe 13. It just came out last week. So like 13,000 views. So people are digging it.
Amazing.
Yeah. People are really digging it. And like,
I can't wait to check these out.
Yeah. And so there's somebody behind the scenes too, one of the producers, he's helping us. I can't really say like, cause I don't know all the details yet.
Yeah.
He's showing it to people. And
okay.
I think once we get the whole thing done, we're going to do like 6, 7, maybe 8 episodes or I'm not sure how many he has in mind. Once they're all together, it can be like a package thing. Like they can see where the story's going. Because there's a theme that runs through the whole show.
Right.
I mean, you're watching it. So it's a lot of fun playing this character. I just play this guy. Like the whole first one, I'm in my boxes sitting in my office. I'm eating cheese and pepperoni. It's like, what better gig is that, right? And then
that's like Tony Soprano right there.
Episode 2, I'm still in my boxes in the office. I'm eating a cannoli with an espresso. It's a fun character.
Dude, that's really fun.
Yeah.
First of all, congrats. It's really awesome. And it's not easy to make stuff and to get people together to do it and to bring all of that to fruition. So really congrats. It's awesome.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you more about that. For people that have ideas, that want to make their own content, right? Or work with other people. Like, it's so, I think it's really cool. Like you connected with that guy over Facebook. And those are the kind of connections that are really nice. You just like vibe with somebody, you get a good feeling about them, you connect, and it like works out. Those are some of the best people that I've worked with, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And, especially during this time, the industry is changing, life is changing so much that I
Hmm.
think creating our own content is even more and more important. Even if it's just for self-fulfillment, to be doing the craft, having a space to do that when
Hmm.
so much is shut down and we don't
Yeah.
have as much opportunity outwards, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, I think it's important because it's that much more important for us to create and put it out there because it's going to be more and more important. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, this day and age is just so the technology is like unbelievable. People, you can film stuff, movies on your phone now. Like the Judgment Call, we did it on an iPhone.
You know what?
So it's
It's like
so
things like
the
that. Yeah.
availability of equipment, that alone, and you don't have to spend like hundreds and thousands of dollars to make a short film or anything.
I know.
You get some
But
lighting, you get even it might be cheesy at first, but you just got to get out there and there's so many theater, like not theater, but film groups on
yeah,
Facebook. Like there's so many in every town. I'm sure there's some film group on Facebook,
yeah,
and you just put yourself out there and say, hey, I'll do, I'll work on any film, I'll do
yeah,
anything, and oh, for free, yeah, come on down.
yeah,
That's how you start. You learn, and like I learned before the internet. It was back in like early 2000s. Like
yeah.
I went to the down to the film school in Providence, RISD, and they had like on the board auditions to be in the films. Like, and I would like call the number or email the number and tell them I want to and come audition. I go audition. That's how I started working on film. I just started doing these
Wow.
student films, and like
It's a
in
great thing to do.
one semester, 3 students put me in their films. They liked me, so I ended up in like 3 films playing 3 different characters. So I went to the festival they have every year at the end of the year. All the
Ah, it's
students, they helped
awesome.
me like 3 films. It was like, this is awesome. It was like the best training to learn how to act on film, and I got it, and I did it for free.
Right. Best training. And then I mean, I don't know about then, but like you get footage, like, it's,
Mhm.
I tell people that all the time. And
Yeah.
these people that go to film school, a lot of the time they wind up making films or like
Yeah. Yeah.
really doing really cool stuff. And it's great to work with people like that, to learn a lot.
Yeah.
I think it just takes a lot of balls. I'll speak for myself. Like I said about stand up, I still have not done stand up.
Yeah.
And it's a risk. Like, what did you just say? You just said earlier, you were like, you get up there, you bomb, you bomb.
Yeah.
John, I heard him on Friday show earlier, and that's what he said. He said, you know what? He was talking to somebody on the show, and he's like, you do it. What's the worst that could happen? You bomb? Like,
Hmm.
and it's like, yes, the worst that could happen is that I bomb, and everything
Yeah.
that I fear about myself internally is totally proven true.
Yeah. Well, that's the actor, I think, in us, that we go on stage and like, because you don't want to stand up so different that you bomb, that you hate that feeling of, oh, they don't like me.
They don't like
Like,
me.
because you want to be on stage or on a film and people going, wow, I love this girl's great. She's a great
Yes.
performer. Right?
Yes.
That's
Because at least I could be somebody else and they don't like that person. But
yeah.
stand up, it's like they don't like me. I came up with this myself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's really hard. That's why I think also it takes balls to do that, because you're
Yeah.
in any craft, any artistic endeavor, you're putting yourself out there. It's
Yeah.
anybody that is choosing to do anything, guys, anybody that's choosing to be any bit a part of the creative world is, I think, so freaking courageous, because
Yeah.
it's so hard for me to put myself out there freely and not care.
Yeah.
So,
And there's a whole other side to it too that people don't even realize, is the whole networking and the promoting
yeah,
and the business really side of it.
yeah,
And I've been gifted with that, I guess, too, because I know actors that are way more talented than me. They can outact me any day of the week, and they're not doing it. They gave up like years ago. For me, I just have such a passion for it, and I don't know who said it. I heard it. It's like, if you have a plan B to go into acting, then don't just go to the plan B. That's crazy.
my
Somebody said it. Somebody famous. I just heard it recently too. Somebody.
yeah.
said it, but
It's true. My
yeah,
old acting teacher used to say, like, he'd say, if you can do anything else and be reasonably happy, reasonably,
yeah,
quit acting right now.
yeah,
Like, you know what that means? If I could just be in life, I should still quit acting. So
yeah,
I should only do acting if I have to, and I have to,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
do too.
That's the ones that stick with it, and so
Yeah.
eventually something happens. I think. My acting teacher, Bert Silverberg, he his first day of class, I remember him saying, he goes, as an actor, if you're gonna pursue this, learn to love the word no.
It's
And that always stuck
true.
in my head. Every audition, everything, every chilling you project you try to get together with somebody or do, you learn to love the word no, because that's what you're gonna hear like almost every time. You're gonna
How
hear
do you
like a 20 no's, and then you'll hear a yes.
Yeah, more than 20. I think it was Jack Black. He was in an interview, and he was saying, like, for every, oh man, I'm gonna get this wrong. So if this ever gets seen by Jack Black, I butchered your words, which, so I'll be very lucky if Jack Black ever sees this. So he said something like, for every like 199 auditions or something, he gets like one, and it's
Yeah,
like, it was something like a huge number like that,
yeah,
and that's doing well, like,
yeah,
and he's killing it, kind of
yeah, yeah,
something along those lines. It's like, you it's a lot of just
yeah.
hustling. Don't,
Hustling.
like,
It
don't
is. It
expect
just
to
me.
get it.
Yeah,
Just do it for the love of it, and know that if I feel like, know that if I keep doing it, I keep hustling, I keep working at it, I don't give up, I'm gonna get a yes,
yeah, exactly.
or I'm gonna
And,
make
and,
a yes.
and you want it's like it's in you. It's something that's in you. Someone that's not a performer or any type, they'll they say, yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's your passion, but they really don't understand. Unless you're an act, you don't really understand. I don't even think my wife understands it. She's very supportive of it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, she made me quit my job 3 years ago to do this full time, to pursue it. And so that's very supportive, but still,
Yeah.
I don't think people know unless they really, it's something they do. It's just
I
such a, we got to be a little crazy. I think you got to be a
Yeah.
little, and just have tons of passion for it.
And a lot of people, it seems like it's kind of, I've had people in my life kind of look at me as maybe a little less than, like, okay, you chase your dream, little
Yeah,
crazy
yeah,
girl. And it's funny because I look at it as completely the opposite. I think it takes so much courage, because I wish that I could go, I'm not going to act, and go get a career where I had steady income, bought a house, blah blah blah, because there's other things I could do that I'd be good at,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think, or that I would even love, but I would never be okay that I
yeah,
wasn't acting.
yeah,
So I think it takes a lot of courage to go, okay, I'm going to turn down a comfortable life, because I know I'd be inside miserable.
yeah.
It's a hard,
06, 07, right after that second California trip.
yeah,
Um, I stepped away for like a year. I ran a kitchen with my mom. We rented a kitchen at a bar and made food, like Italian food and everything.
yeah,
Because I like, another passion of mine was is food, like cooking and stuff. And so, um, but that whole year it was tough. It's like tough. Food business is tough. Wasn't making any money. I was just breaking even, and I was
yeah.
miserable. And I was really miserable and depressed because I wasn't performing anymore. I stopped stand up. I wasn't writing. I wasn't acting. And like, as soon as I realized it, I was like, you know what? What am I doing? I just, we closed the kitchen down, or we left there. And I went back to driving limo again, where I had more free time.
Yeah.
And I just started going, doing stand up again. And I felt like me again. Like, I was like, what was I thinking? I was so like, oh man, I was super depressed.
I get it. I know.
Yeah.
It's, I say to, not to talk about John's process and stuff, but John is John, my boyfriend. You guys always hear about him. So John is he's such a talented, freaking creative, awesome dude. He's also just such a great person and a caring person, that he would drop everything to give to me or anyone else. He would
Yeah.
go, if God forbid we needed it, he would go drop everything and get a steady job, And like, I love that your wife is so supportive of you, because that's how I feel with John. I'd rather struggle for some reason with something than him ever have to give up on his talent and his dreams, because Bronx Tale, we talked about Bronx Tale, like the quote, the saddest thing in life is wasted talent.
Wasted talent. I know.
And that's one of my favorite quotes of all time.
My last year I had at my job, in my office, I had that quote written on my top of my computer.
Really?
It was when I came back from New York and did the 2 weeks off Broadway in January of 18. That we decided, like, I got to pursue this, and I had that written on my thing. Nothing worse in life than wasted talent.
Yep.
And I would look at it every day. And then in February, I gave my boss a 2-week notice, and that was it. I haven't had a regular job since.
I think about that.
And it was a good job. In case my old boss is watching, he was the best boss I ever had. I worked there 5 years. It was property management in Providence. He was the best boss I ever had. Yeah, it was a great job. But it's something inside me, and he knew, and he's like, go for it. He was an entrepreneur himself. He started with nothing and he owns, all this property now, and he's a big businessman. So he knew, you gotta do it.
You gotta. It's the best to be surrounded by people that push us to do it, even though we don't necessarily know what the outcome is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's really awesome.
Yeah.
What would you like? Man, I love hearing what you're doing. This is why I do this. I think it's so important for all of us. The people I have on my show, it's people that are in the process of trying to figure out who they want to be, how they want to do it, how to create their dreams. And I think it's important for us to hear one another. And I love that you're doing what you're doing, that you haven't had a regular job, and you're making things and putting them out there. I can't wait to see. Guys, I can't wait to put the links on here for you guys to see Nick's work. Dude, we got to work together. We got to do. We got to create some stuff.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I think by this summer, I think a lot of it's going to start changing. I think things are going to start opening up again, and things are going to start happening again. I feel it. I feel it. It's going to happen. I'm writing, and like my one man play. I wrote that January of 2020.
Yeah.
I finished. I was working on it for like a year. I wrote the screenplay version of The Last Sicilian. I left out all the history stuff. I just all my childhood stories of growing up on the North End of Providence, and I call the script The North End of Providence is the movie, based off the one man play The Last Sicilian, and it's all the stories. I crammed them all into 1 year, 1985, when I was 11 years old.
It's like the Goldbergs.
Yeah. Oh, I love that show.
All
I've been watching it every night. I've been watching it every night on Hulu with my son. Like,
dude,
that's our thing.
My
oldest, he's only 12. Yeah.
We're only like the first episode into this latest season, but dude, it's all I know is that it was 1980 something, and it was awesome. That's what like he says in like every episode.
1980 something.
1980 something. And I love that.
When's he gonna go into the 90s? You gotta get into the 90s eventually. I don't know.
Dude,
when.
I know, right? It's so funny because when I saw that you love the Goldbergs, I'm like, oh, he's even more my kind of person. Like
that kid was me. I was a kid with the video camera. With the Italian version. The Jewish version. I was like, I told my son that's me, but we were more Goomba than they were.
Both very specifically family in your face oriented.
Yeah.
Different.
Both loud. We were both loud. Like people used to come to my house, and my parents were so loud, and my friends were afraid. And then they're like, "Why are your parents yelling all the time?" Like, dude, they're not yelling. That's how they talk.
Love each other. Yeah.
That's how they were like the Costanzas. We used to call them the Costanzas. My parents. It's like, "What are you doing? Bring some bread over here. Come over here now." Like that's how they talk.
You're killing me.
Yeah. It was like hilarious.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh, it's hilarious.
So the North End of Providence, based in '85, and it's all those childhood stories that people heard in the one man show. I finished in 2020, and I was ready to go. I actually met with somebody. They flew in from California. They're gonna help like try to help produce this to get this off the
Yeah.
ground, and then March 2020, everything just changed, like everything. I had this TV pilot that I was going to have ready to go,
Yeah.
but hopefully not, like it'll come around.
I was going to say, you put all this work into it, and that's timeless. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not something that you just made that is only relevant this past year. It's going to be relevant when you go to get it out there again.
Yeah.
It's not going to, you know what I'm saying? It's not so
Yeah.
specific that it's only going to make sense in this year.
Well, I know it's
especially
gonna.
not that.
I got the heart of the one man into the
Yeah.
screenplay, and that's the thing. After every show I would do, no matter if they were Italian, they really loved it. But if people, Portuguese, Jewish, Spanish, all these nationalities would come to me after the show,
Yeah.
and like, well, I totally relate to that because I had an uncle just like that, or my father was like, my mother hit me with the spoon like that, like. Everyone related because it was all about family, and it was all about coming to America. Immigrants coming to America. It's like everyone can relate to it.
Everyone can relate to it.
So it pulls the heartstrings. So I got that into the screenplay as well. So like you said, I think it's gonna be timeless. If I gotta wait another year, I'll wait another year. I think once it gets made, and the thing is, I'm pulling a Rocky Balboa here, Stallone, and the Chaz Palminteri. No one's taking the script. I got the script. They want to make this movie. I'm playing my father. I don't care anybody. I'd rather not make the movie if I can't play my father. You know what I mean?
Stallone that shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a couple of big names to play my uncle, which is a great role. You need that one name starring with. That's the only one. The rest, all they're just gonna be good actors. I don't care if they're known or not known.
Yeah.
I think it could be done. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
My dad's bakery, we sold it years ago, but it's still around. It's a different name now.
Yeah.
But I go in there, I talk to them all the time. I'm like, if I show up with a producer and money, I want to film this where it happened, the actual bakery where it really happened. I want to change the whole thing into 1985, the street, everything. That'd be cool. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Dude, you know how you said, like, so I have to share this with you. You said, like, when you read Billy Crystal's 700 Sundays, I just realized what I want my first film to be. And I'll talk to you about this after, because when we got on, John was like, tell Nick about your dad. So this is a story I'll tell you another time, but I never knew I was Italian until I was a teenager.
Really?
My dad found out that he was adopted. He never knew it. Anyway, his father, he was Fiorello, and he was I'll tell you more about this off air, but he was a prize fighter. He boxed Rocky Graziano.
Your grandfather?
Yeah. And there's a whole story, and it's like like a movie, and it's all real. And there was
your dad's real dad.
Yeah.
Oh, but then your dad was adopted though. Wow.
So he never knew. So he never met him. He never knew this. And so it's a fascinating story, and I'll tell you more.
I know a screenwriter that's available.
That's what I'm like. There was a book written about it, and I think it's definitely of a different time. And I would love to. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely that Italian, and it's fun. I'm going to tell you more because, Dad, if you're watching, I know you don't want your whole life on an episode. So, I love you. So, but we'll definitely talk. It's really
Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
Yeah. I know, it's like very funny because I've always been told that I'm too rough. Like I'll hit a friend, like, and they're like, Samantha, Jesus. Like
you're like what's
Elaine,
Seinfeld. Elaine.
Get out. That's me. I swear, I'm like, stop. And people are like, Jesus.
And
like,
Jerry's so skinny and wimpy. He's like, oh.
So funny. Dude, but we're definitely going to talk more, but we have a lot more to talk about. But before, we call it for the night for this. I definitely want to hear more about what's going on in projects. But I have one question I want to ask you before we go. And I have this portion of my show that is called The Feather in Your Cap. And when I say feather in your cap, I'm asking you if you have something to share with the viewers and the listeners, something that you've learned, either a success or an achievement, something that a thought, a belief, something that served you in your life or may serve you in the future that you'd be willing to share with others that might help them.
Um, like in business, what show business wise or
Anything,
anything?
personally, anything.
Because I do a lot of because I've been doing this like 20 years. So a lot of people do ask me that they're trying to start to get into acting or writing.
Yeah.
And I tell them one thing is we kind of expressed on it earlier is to just be willing to help. And I learned it early on because I did it when I was younger. You burn bridges because like now mature and you feel like these feelings you don't know what they are inside of jealousy or if someone's going to get the gig before you and that's not a good thing to be. Just don't burn bridges. Be kind to everyone because you know what I mean. Because you never know in this business who's gonna go up and they'll remember you. You know what I mean, and they'll give you a job one day. So I really one thing I really learned over the years, just, be fair to everyone, treat everyone kind. Like you said, we're all in this together, especially in the arts. Like especially if you're doing something like theater or film.
Yes,
it's a team. It's a team effort. It's not just you alone. It takes so many people to do a project. So and you've done it long enough. You work with the people that you can work with. So and the people you don't badmouth them. Just stay away from them. Just stay away from them. If you can't work with them. And like you said, somebody that like that person that you would say, oh, that's a nice dream, nice dream for you.
Yeah.
You know what? But when you make it big, that person's gonna be like, hey, I knew her.
Exactly.
I knew her. That's my friend. But at first they didn't give a crap about you.
Right. Exactly.
Once you make it, they're like, oh, I knew her. Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny, right? It's like that little like, oh, okay. And then it's like,
those stories, you hear it all the time. You hear those stories all the time. Oh.
You know what? Because who is anybody that says you can't make it or thinks you can't make it?
Yeah.
That person, nobody knows you. Nobody knows whether you can make it or not, except you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I got to hold that for myself, regardless of anybody else's thoughts or whatever I think people think of me. I know what I have to bring. I know what I'm supposed to do.
If we got a couple of minutes, I just remembered something too. Like, for that example of someone really helping you or giving you advice is when before I started stand up, because I really always wanted to do stand up. I was as a kid in my yard, I was doing one man shows for the neighbors. Like the other kids, I was the only kid that had HBO, so I would be watching these movies that kids shouldn't be watching, like Porky's and stuff, and I would act out the whole movie for the neighbors. And then their mom and dads are like, why is your son acting out Porky's for my kid? So
great.
So that was kind of a form of stand-up, really, and I didn't know it.
Right.
But then I started as I got to high school and I'm watching the MTV half-hour comedy hour, and I really want to do that, and VH1 Spotlight and Bobby Collins. He took over. Yeah, he took over for Rosie O'Donnell, and I'm watching him in high school, and then as I got into stand-up, I ended up opening up for him for like maybe 4 or 5 shows. I opened up for him. He called me one night on my cell phone to see if I wanted to do a gig with him. So I was like,
you just never know, right?
You never know. But before I got stand up, I was driving a limo. It was like 2004, and I got a job. I picked up George Carlin.
Wow.
I got a job. They gave me the job, and I went and picked him up at the private airport. And it was him, his manager, his opening act, Dennis Blair. Side note, he was one of the writers for Easy Money for Rodney Dangerfield. He opened up for George Collins for years. And I brought them to the theater, and they invited me in to hang, because this is hours before the show.
Wow.
I was hanging out in the green with him, and he's just talking to me like a regular guy, and I felt comfortable enough to ask him, hey, how do I start doing stand-up? It's something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
He's like, Nick, you gotta just write 5 minutes of material. and hit every open mic night, even if it's a music open night. They'll let you do stand up, and you'll know right away if you're good, if you suck.
Huh.
And he was just so like,
Just
and
so giving.
yeah. And I went to get dinner. He bought me dinner. We sat and ate together, and we talked about movies and music. And I was like, and I didn't expect that from him, because watching his act, I'm like, this guy's a miserable bastard.
Right.
Oh, he hates everybody, politicians, religion, everything. Right. And he was the sweetest guy from New York. And he just gave me this advice. And I was like, you know what? If I ever hit that level, man, I want to be the same way. I don't want to change. I want to just, if people need advice or help, I want to do it, you know?
It's the best
So,
feeling. It's the best feeling to give
and,
it.
and to watch, and the place is packed, right? Like, I don't know how many people, like maybe 2,000 people sitting there. And I'm at the wing of the stage, and he's like 12 feet away from me. And I'm watching him do his act. I'm like, I want to do that. Like, I remember saying, I want to do that. And, you know, and he died a couple of years after that. I wish he, you know, because he came around New England a couple of times a year. It would have been great.
Yeah.
When I was headlining shows, to run into him and say, listen, man, I'm headlining shows, you know?
Thank you,
So,
man. You know,
yeah,
like.
Yeah. And I got to
Beautiful.
tell his daughter. I'm glad I got to tell his daughter that story, though.
You did?
Yeah, through Twitter, I started talking to her, and she said, "Thank you so much for telling me that story about my dad." You know, I just wanted her to hear it, to know.
Of course.
I'm sure she has tons of stories of things he's done, you know, but just to hear, like, wow, my dad, because she did a one-woman show.
She did?
About growing up George Collins' daughter.
That was probably a fascinating show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much. We definitely, yeah, dude, it's a pleasure. And we touched on a few things. We have so much more that we could talk about, and we will. So we'll have to have you back, and we'll be in touch. I want to hear what's going on with these projects.
Have a part two.
Hell yeah, part two.
The sequel.
Dude, dude, awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Guys, thank you. And guys, thank you guys for tuning in. And again, all Nick's, info is going to be along with the episode. So check him out, check out all the work. I can't wait to check it out. And you guys know the drill. Like, rate, subscribe, comment, let us know what you thought about the show and what you'd like to see more of for part 2. And yeah, click that subscribe button. It helps us keep this thing going, and we love you and appreciate it. And Nick, thank you so much again. You're awesome, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.